सो देवता देवता अभी बनना है या भविष्य में बनेंगे? भविष्य में बनेंगे ना? क्या अभी बनना है? अभी बनना है। देवता अर्थात सर्व गुणों से सजे सजाए। ये दिव्य गुण संगम के देवता जीवन के श्रृंगार। इस समय दिव्य गुणों से सजे सजाए होते हो, तब ही भविष्य में इस स्थूल श्रृंगार से सजे सजाए। तो देवता अर्थात दिव्य गुणों से सजे सजाए। और दूसरा देवता अर्थात देने वाला, लेवता नहीं, देवता। तो मास्टर दादा हो कि कभी लेवता कभी देवता। चेक करो कि दिव्य गुणों का श्रृंगार सदा रहता है, वह कभी कोई श्रृंगार भूल जाता है, कभी कोई श्रृंगार भूल जाता है। संपूर्ण सर्व गुण संपन्न, यही देवता जीवन की निशानी। ये गुण ही कहने और देवता स्वरूप के दातापन की निशानी और दिव्य गुणों संपन्न बने हैं।
Shanti. Now a Brahmin, and the next step, an angel. And the next step, yes, I go home in between and I become a deity. But can I experience the deity stage now? Well, I have to. If I don't experience it today, I'm not going to be experiencing it in the future. 21 births. So now is my experience of the deity stage. And so what does that mean? A deity normally is one who's fully adorned, very beautiful. You've seen the images of Lakshmi, of Narayan and Vishnu. And so those adornments, the symbols in Vishnu's arms that are held by Lakshmi and Narayan, and then also all the jewelry that they have. But what does it mean for me today? As a deity of purity, what I have today are all the virtues. Purity is the foundation, and if I've imbibed purity deeply within my thoughts, my words, my actions, my sanskars, then yes, what will be the reflection of this? The reflection of this will be all the virtues that I've taken from Baba and imbibed within myself. And so, is there a moment when, for example, I lose my patience just for a moment and irritation has come in? Well, I've dropped those those jewels, I've dropped that virtue, I've dropped the beauty of that perfect stage. So let me remember at all times. It begins in my consciousness. Let me remain in the awareness that I am a deity of purity now. And so my thoughts, my words, my actions surely will show everyone those virtues that come from purity. Purity is extremely subtle. Sometimes we wonder how we can define it. And sometimes we think that, well, it's a negative definition in the sense that it means no vices or nothing negative. But the positive definition of purity that Baba has given us is lovely. The deity of purity means one who's adorned with all virtues. So purity today means to have all the virtues, because all the virtues spring from purity. And so let me be able to check myself and see if truly I have all the virtues filled within me that I'm able to reveal through my words, through my actions at all times. The second one, the second aspect of purity, the deity of purity, is being the bestower. Devta, deity, means the one who's able to give, never taking. Now, in Sangam Yug, I have to practice this, being the bestower. Am I always ready to give? Somebody says something about me. Am I able to forgive instantly, so that it doesn't stay in my head that, oh, this one's saying these things about me. I really wasn't expecting them to behave like this. I wish they didn't. No, they've said it from their perspective. And maybe later I can find out what that perspective was and put forward my perspective also of that situation. But hold on. That's all the expansion and the extension that comes later. The important thing now at this moment to give means to forgive. Sometimes people ask for cooperation, and I say, yes, I would really like to, but not now. I need to go for my walk. And what I'm trying to do is to explain the difference between being able to have that regard and respect and be polite and say, well, I've got this and this and this that needs attention, and then I can get back to you. But sometimes we put our own personal things first and say, well, I can't postpone my walk. Well, I could postpone my walk for an hour. That's one little example. And so am I ready to give cooperation? Am I ready to give support when there's a need? And am I ready to give it to anyone and everyone? Or is there a select group that I'm ready to give and not to everyone? If this one asks me, I'll say yes. If this one asks me, well, I'll think about it, which actually means a no. But to be able to constantly be the bestower, to be able to constantly give, that is the Devta, the deity. So let me see in the other department, what is it that I'm sometimes taking? Because definitely we don't take all the time, but from time to time we do take. Emotional support from one individual, emotional support from my little group. What else am I taking? Maybe I'm taking a lot of help from somebody in particular, a lot of cooperation. Emotional support is one thing, but in terms of physical activity and needs, am I becoming dependent on one individual? Or is there a pool? Is there a team that's been created that can carry out a task together? And so in that sense, I'm also part of that team. And there's a give and take within the team. And so that level of cooperation becomes a very different state to being dependent on one individual and taking from that individual. And if that individual isn't around, I feel a little bit lost, or I feel a little bit heavy. How am I going to get all this done now? And so taking can be on many, many different levels. And of course, Baba's often talked about taking in the sense of accepting praise. Well, the problem with that is, you know from your experience, today I accept flowers and praise, and tomorrow maybe those same guys are going to be ready to throw stones at me. And so when they offer praise, well, that's their regard. Let me internally know it's Baba's task. Baba made it happen. And so it's not me, really, not to accept that praise. And then when there's defamation, they're throwing stones. Who does the stone stay with if I'm not ready to accept it? Checking and changing is a separate thing. But defamation and taking the stones is another thing. If I accept the praise and I accept the stones, well, the praise is short-lived anyway, so that's not going to bring me real happiness. It's temporary. And if I accept the stones, they leave a scar. There's a very deep scar that's left behind. And then I'm going to feel unhappy and distressed, and I can do one of two things then. Either throw stones back at them, which may be a reaction, but on the other side, then I'll have to take time and extra help from Baba to heal the wound that's been left by the stone. But if I remember, I'm God's instrument. What I did was in the awareness of God, in God's remembrance. I'm not going to be impacted by those stones that get thrown at me. And so it becomes an armor of protection. So Baba's reminder, always be the donor, the bestower, the one who's able to give. Don't ever have the thought of taking from anyone. Baba is giving everything, absolutely everything that we need. We don't need anything more. And yes, the love and respect amongst all, and to be able to constantly give Baba's love and regard to all. But that's it. And then, adorned with all virtues, and definitely constantly giving, the bestower, I am the deity of purity. Om Shanti.